Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're digging into a really interesting case study you sent over. It's about a company's, well, their journey with GenAI, specifically for front-end development.
Yep.
We want to look at the cost versus benefit, but maybe more importantly, the unexpected things they found along the way.
Exactly. And what's quite striking here is that, well, like a lot of companies, they were initially hesitant,
Right.
thinking about the costs actually running the AI, data privacy worries, and just frankly, whether it would even be worth it. The usual calculations.
That classic cost-benefit analysis we all kind of go through. The source mentions that was a real hurdle at first, weighing those tangible costs against, well, what seemed like pretty fuzzy benefits back then. Understandable caution.
Absolutely. But then they sort of reached a tipping point. They decided, okay, let's actually try this out. Specifically, like you said, in front-end development. That decision to just experiment, that's key here.
And the initial results, the author uses the word amazing, which really stands out.
It does.
Though they did say, some manual corrections were needed. So not quite magic, but still amazing.
Which is a good point in itself, right?
Mm.
Even if it needs a bit of human touch-up, the upside can still be huge.
Yeah.
But then, this is where it gets, well, really fascinating. The source talks about this blue ocean of opportunity.
Ocean, I like that.
Yeah, stuff they hadn't even thought about when they were first doing that cost analysis.
So it wasn't just about doing the same job faster or cheaper. They found whole new ways of doing things. What kind of things?
Well, the big one highlighted was a fundamental shift in how they approached designing interfaces.
Okay.
They moved away from what they called rule-based or account-based interfaces, the sort of static, predefined ones.
Right, like based on set rules or maybe the user's account type.
Exactly. And they started building custom runtime interfaces instead.
Okay, runtime interfaces. So interfaces that kind of adapt on the fly, depending on what the user is actually doing right then. How did GenAI enable that?
Precisely. The GenAI allowed them to dynamically show and capture only the information that was relevant in that specific moment, for that specific interaction.
Ah, okay.
The author said this made the whole user experience richer and friction-free. Users weren't getting swamped with stuff they didn't need.
And the company wasn't spending ages building all these complex static options, I guess.
You got it. Less burden on them, much smoother for the user.
Wow, okay. That does sound like a pretty big deal for the user experience. And that must be where the whole cost-benefit picture starts to look really different.
Totally. The author says it flat out. The standard equation of cost-benefit changed overnight once these new benefits came into view.
Overnight?
Yeah. The better UX, the internal efficiencies from these dynamic interfaces,
Yeah.
it just completely changed how they valued the AI.
So it wasn't just a small win on the original task. It actually unlocked totally new ways to interact with customers, maybe even new value streams. And the author felt this was just the start.
Yeah, uses that phrase, tip of the iceberg. Suggests there's a lot more potential there.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How often do we maybe limit ourselves by just focusing too narrowly on the initial problem we're trying to solve with new tech?
Exactly. And the advice of the piece is pretty direct on this.
Don't let that initial cost spreadsheet paralyze you, right?
Right. The push is really to experiment,
Mm.
to actually try things, because that's how you stumble upon these unforeseen blue oceans. The biggest benefits might not be the ones you plan for at all.
So the core takeaway seems to be focusing only on that first obvious cost-benefit calculation can actually blind you to the much bigger, maybe unexpected wins that tech like GenAI might offer.
It's about being open to finding those serendipitous advantages, the things you discover by doing.
Definitely. So maybe a thought for everyone listening: where in your own work, or even just areas you're interested in, might a strict cost-benefit view be holding you back? What potential blue oceans are out there if you just experimented a little? Something to chew on. Thanks for exploring that with us today.